Entry, I guess, and yesterday we just did from page 10 to 13. Now today we are supposed to take from page 14 up to 16. Not very many pages, 2 pages, right? So we won't take a lot of your time. Just spare some few minutes and listen to this. I know some of you will be coming out to ask a lot of questions, so you would rather use this moment to actually understand, and you can also ask direct questions on live stream. You know, when I post a video and you come to ask questions later, sometimes because of the busy schedules I have, I tend to see that question later on, and I may not actually be in a position to answer it immediately. So it will take a while before I respond. But if you can be on the live streams I'm doing, you can be in a position to ask the question directly and I respond. Guys, keep supporting the channel also, because we are actually having very few people watching, yet the number of subscribers is very high. Currently, we have almost 3,600 subscribers, but you find that one video is being watched by less than 100. You know, that is an imbalance, and yet I've not actually used a bot or bought the audience. So I wonder what's happening, guys. Did you lose interest in this channel? Tell us why. You can actually drop a comment. You can also ask us on specific content so that you don't disappear, guys. Thank you so much. Let's proceed. Currently, it is almost 10 p.m. At night in Kenya. And of course, this week I've been on duty, even though I'm not doing much. But that has really cost my time, because I have to go a little bit earlier than I do every moment. But soon it's coming to an end. And of course, we are almost closing the term. And of course, with the cold and the rains, things are not very okay sometimes. But anyway, we are into our 5th entry, happening from page 14 to 16. And I'll be reading, then I'll do the analysis as obvious. It is 14th February 2020, as Kombani writes this. Now, I realize that sometimes though I project this, but it doesn't happen to be very clear. I don't know why. So, dear Mama, growing up in Molo in the late 1980s and 1990s gave me front row seat to the events that were to rock the country. You were always open about what happened in the lead up to moving to Molo just before I was born. When your marriage to Joram hit a rough patch, you quickly built and furnished a house on your land in Joro. Then you left the Nakuru home and set up base in Molo. I have no idea why we never called Joram Dad. It was not as if he was around to be called anything that signaled kinship. Anyway, growing up without a father was challenging, particularly when many of friends often bragged about their family's achievements. I did not have much love for Joram. From what you told me, he practically left when you were in the hospital recovering from another eye operation. Your eye problems, which began in your teenhood when Angondungu threw hot ash into your face and eyes during the sibling fight, were getting worse as you grew older. I recall that as a result, you had to retire from your teaching job on medical grounds. As you told us, Joram said he would not keep a blind wife. A few months later, while you were in the hospital having me, he sold all the properties you had acquired together. One of the stories I remember you telling us is how people would come to collect the items that had been sold without your knowledge. You had to vacate the sofa you were nursing me on when the new owner came to collect it. From some invoices I saw in one of your files, you and Joram must have been well-to-do. You lived in Nakuru's London, one of the affluent neighborhoods at that time. All these things made me harbor some bitterness towards Joram. I blamed him after I was laughed at when I jumped into a school conversation about a football match. I mentioned that a certain team wore black jerseys and everyone burst out laughing because the players actually wore red. How was I to know? The screen on Mama Ocheng's TV, which we used to watch in the evenings, was black and white. In later days, we would go to the Molo police station canteen, where, thankfully, they had a color TV, and we could watch the epic Indian television series Ramayan in its full splendor. Molo was a fast-growing, multicultural town bordering the busy Nairobi-Eldoret highway, with bustling junctions at Toto that connected the highway to the vast tea-growing regions of Kericho and the Mau Summit Highlands. It served as the gateway to the interior agricultural lands of Olenguruwen and Kamwara. Your first business venture was a bar near the Molo KCC depot, or we call it depot, before you opened another one at Toto after falling out with a business partner. One of the stories I heard often was about how upon returning to Toto after a long hospitalization following a bus accident you had in 1985, you discovered that the workers had mismanaged the bar, leaving you only one crate of beer in stock. I spent a lot of time with you at the Molo District Hospital, where you had a tender to supply things, foodstuffs, and later firewood. Later, when you became devout Christian, you refused to engage in corruption and lost the tender. Let's go on to the last page. As I grew older, I watched your eyesight slowly decline. You could not read anything unless it was an inch away from your face, and you could not travel without a guide. Even in your condition, you needed to work and follow up on payments at the Nakuru Treasury offices and with Nairobi law firms that were pursuing compensation for the two accidents you had in 1985 and 1987. That is where I came in, becoming your guide. This meant traveling to Nairobi and other towns. I loved reading and would read anything I could get my hands on. One day we were traveling in Matatu when I saw an old man with a newspaper folded on his lap. I really wanted to borrow it, but I was too shy to ask. Finally, I gathered courage to borrow the newspaper. The old man looked at me with what seemed like scorn and asked, "Do you even know how to read?" When I nodded, he handed me the newspaper and asked me to read it aloud. As I read, I could see his face transform into fascination. "My, you are too small to read this well." Just then, I stood up to let the passenger take my seat. However, the old man turned to the conductor and told him that he would pay the bus fare for both of us. As he alighted a few stops ahead, he told me to keep the newspaper. Then he patted me on the back and said, "Young man, you are very creative. You'll go places." I do not know if you noticed it then, but when we alighted, I had a new spring to my step. Henceforth, I always sat next to people with newspapers and made a point of asking to read. The old man's words stuck in my head for years. You are very creative. You'll go places. Your loving son, Kombani. Now, guys, teachers, students, and any other interested party in this book, Dear Mama, Our Memo, which if the curriculum is considering as an autobiography, actually has a lot. Now, this one is happening to show the experiences of Kombani as a child of a single mother. We learn how Joram disappeared in their life, and we also learn the fate of the mother who lost her sight and even her job. Now let's go back to the character traits. We want to start with Kombani himself. Kombani was very confident, or rather bold and courageous. Yeah, confident is not the exact aspect of courageous, but here we realize that Kombani actually gathers courage and borrows a newspaper from an old man near him, and he keeps doing the same from many other passengers. He was also creative. According to the observation by the old man, in fact, he was likable as well. Remember, the old man just loved how he was doing it. Then he was intelligent. He was able to read very well at a very tender age. We can also say he was emotional. He hated the father to an extent that he didn't want anything to do with him because of how he had dumped them. Because this is an autobiography, or rather a memo, we can say he's when we consider that he did not forget the incidences that happened to him as a child, what do we say about this? Yeah. Could we say he's yeah, it's out of intelligence, I believe. Yeah. Now, the mother, we can say that she was very determined and hardworking, because all through they had bought a lot of things, or rather property, together with Joram. Then we can also say she was intelligent because she was a teacher before she lost her sight. We can also say she was religious because she became a devout Christian and refused to engage in corruption. At that point, what can we say at this? Because she has this integrity that made her not to engage in corruption, and even to an extent that she lost the tender. Maybe you can say she was, what can we say here? Maybe, is it integrity? She was a person of integrity. Then we can also say she was what? Because we see here that when you look at the text, the way she could go to different places traveling and pursuing her pension, we can say she was focused, right? Yeah, I think so. Then when we look at who else, the old man in the vehicle, the one that gave Kombani the newspaper, was very observant and keen, and he was generous. He gave the boy the newspaper to read. He also commented positively. We can also say he was visionary, because how did he realize that this boy could go far? And also gave the newspaper and paid their fare. Okay. We can also see the Joram. Joram was very mean because he was leaving the wife with kids, about 4, but he had to sell a lot of property they had bought together with the wife. After all, if he was to leave, he could have left some property, because he knew the wife would not have taken care of all these 4 children empty-handed. She had lost the job after all. Then we can also say that Joram was reckless and brutal because of the blind aspect that the wife was acquiring slowly by slowly. He decided to desert her and say he could not keep her a blind wife, instead of taking care of her and maybe taking her to the hospitals. Then the wife is resilient, because all this time she could go to different hospitals and be treated. We can see Joram is, not Joram, but Kombani. Kombani is somehow very humorous. He loves. All right, so let's proceed. As I'm saying, we can say that Joram's mother was also very resilient. She was able to persevere all these moments, going from hospital to hospital, treating herself, and she could even go for compensation, even to different towns, including Nairobi. On the other hand, Joram was brutal, because he was leaving this lady with kids, but he left her without anything. He sold even the sofa sets which they bought together, and the children had to live a very desperate life because of that. We can also see this character known as Ndungu. Ndungu actually was brutal. He threw hot ash into the face of Joram, Kombani's mother, and that's why she was experiencing loss of vision slowly by slowly. Now let's look at the themes. We can see the theme of, we can talk about health deterioration, because Joram's wife, who is the mother to Kombani, actually was losing sight day by day. She developed eye problems until she could not see anymore. And Kombani had to accompany her to places. Yeah. She spent a lot of time in Molo District Hospital. And at some point, she even began now to supply material there. We can see corruption. You had to pay some people money for you to maintain a tender. When Kombani's mother refused to do so, she lost her tender. We can also see marriage and separation. Joram was the husband to Kombani's mother, but he decided to walk away because she was losing sight and he could not keep a blind wife. Then we can see irresponsibility. Joram sells everything when the wife is in hospital, and people have to come for them even when the wife comes from hospital. We can also see poverty. Once the things have been sold and the bar has been actually mismanaged by the workers, we have also seen some businesses which Joram messed up with, led to a very poor life for Kombani and the mother. Change. You realize that Kombani's mother used to live in Nakuru's London area, which is an affluent neighborhood. But after what happened through Joram's responsibility, they had to vacate and live in a poor place. We can see the aspect of responsibility on Joram's mother, because she was able to build something at, was it Njoro? Njoro land. So they left the Nakuru home. Okay. The other thing is, I think determination. We see that Kombani has this determination that made him ask for whatever he saw. Like whenever he saw the old man with a newspaper and he wished to read, he did not just leave it. He focused to actually read through, and it helped him. There is hope. This old man who gives Kombani a newspaper and pays for them fair actually inspires him by telling him he will be very creative and he will go places. Then away from that, we actually see the aspect of aspect of what? I saw something here. What was this? I think I see an aspect of generosity in this man that pays fair for the Kombani and the mother. Now let's come to stylistic devices. Of course, there is epistolary mode, now that the entry is written in form of a letter. Now we also see irony, the fact that Joram is leaving the wife who is blind. She has kids with him, and he leaves her without anything to take care of the kids. We also see what? Contrast. While Joram's wife was very dedicated, focused, responsible, we had the contrast of it in Joram, who was irresponsible, careless, and brutal. The other irony is that Kombani used to see to watch football on a dark black and white TV, and therefore thought that everything was black. What else do we see? I can see direct address. The man asking the boy whether he can read, and then telling him he will be very creative and go places. Unless there is another style I've not seen. I think those are the emerging styles here. And I hope this has found you well. I hope you've gained something from my discussion. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I appreciate. Keep reminding other people who might want to know about Dear Mama so that they may explore this story. It's an interesting one, by the way. So bye-bye for now. We will keep on, but I've also got Dreams Denied. I'll be getting to read it, then discuss.